Hello everyone, so I will be doing my April wrap-up for the month of April. I read 7 books, so let's get started. The first book I read was The Woman in the Strongbox by Maureen O'Hagan. This is a part of the Amazon Kindle Missing collection. This is a true mystery about Lori Ruff. After Lori committed suicide, her family went into her home and found a hidden strongbox that contained evidence that her entire life was made up. This was a short, interesting case. I listened to this on Audible, and so it was only an hour and a half long. So I did like it, but I just left with so many questions. And the sucky part is that I looked into this case, I googled it, and they don't have any answers to my questions. Because it was just about Lori's, who was Lori and how they figured out who she really was. But I had other questions, and sadly, they aren't answered. The next book is It by Stephen King. I think everyone knows about it, or knows the concept of it anyways, so I'm not going to go into detail of what it's about. So I think I started this audiobook 2 years ago, but I haven't listened to it in over a year, and so I recently in April started it again. I redid it because I knew I don't remember many details, and so I got it done in a week. I did enjoy this. I gave it a 4-star rating. I liked the kids' story, and I even liked the stories when they were adults. And yes, this is the book that contains the scene. There is an abridged version that doesn't have that scene, but this one does. If you know, you know. And I hated it, of course, and the reason behind why he put that in is stupid. And what pisses me off is that when the movie came out, they talked to Stephen King about that scene, and he basically said that times have changed since he wrote that scene, and that there's more sensitivity now about it. I hate it when older generations say that, oh, you're just being sensitive. It's no, we're not being sensitive. We are now calling out things that are wrong. We are now educating ourselves and know that, hey, we shouldn't say those things, we shouldn't do those things. And people are oh, you're so sensitive, we were never offended back then. It's I'm sure many people were offended, but we didn't have the internet. We didn't have all these resources that will tell us that, hey, people are offended, people are hurt. It's just wrong. And I think that people are not sensitive to the fact that a middle-aged man wrote a sex scene involving many 11-year-olds. No, not being sensitive. It's gross. He said that people are more upset by a single sex scene than the children being murdered. And they are children. They shouldn't be sexualized. He could have gone so many different ways when trying to prove his point about, them leaving childhood behind to be adulthood. Because that's what he said that scene was ultimately about. He could have gone any other way instead of sexualizing kids. There is no other way to put it. If you are writing a sex scene, they will be sexualized. Especially the way that he's written it. That is my major problem with this book. I know, many people are probably curious about the scene, but I say just read the abridged version or the version that doesn't have it, because it's not necessary. And again, his ending sucks. I wish it ended a lot sooner, because the closest she got to the ending is when it went downhill. And at one point I thought it was nearing the end, and I was satisfied, and I was oh, okay, this is good. And then it went on for 100 pages or so. It was just so unnecessary, the ending. But if you read Stephen King, or you're going to read Stephen King, just know that you're going to be disappointed with the ending. That he writes great books until the ending. The next book I read was The Princess Bride by William Goldman. So this is a story within a story. In the book, S. Morgenstern wrote The Princess Bride, and this boy, when he was young, he came down with like pneumonia, and his father would read The Princess Bride to him, and he loved it. His father continued to read it to him, and that got him into books. He loves books now, and he grows up to be an author. And so he gives The Princess Bride to his son to read, and sadly, to his disappointment, the son couldn't even get through it. And he was so sad, and so he actually, but when he sat down to read The Princess Bride, he realized that it's not a children's book at all. It's something more complex. It has this whole big world, and so that can be boring for kids. And he realizes that he's never actually saw the book or read the book himself. His dad has always read it to him, and he realizes that his father was basically reading the good parts to it, the parts that like children would love. And so he decides to abridge the version that his father read to him, so that so his child can enjoy it, and then his child, and so on, you know. And then the story you listen to is the version of the author abridging Morgenstern's version. I really enjoyed this book. I was surprised that that's what it was actually about, because I've only seen the movie, and I loved the movie. And in the movie, it's just a scene where, I guess, a grandpa is reading The Princess Bride to his son because his son is sick. And so that was it. I never knew that, like, it was this whole backstory of this author bridging a book that doesn't exist. Because I had to Google it, because I was like, wait, is there an abridged, like, is there a bigger version? But no. I did enjoy that, but of course I loved the story of Princess Buttercup and Wesley. So if you loved the movie, you'll love this book. It's just like the movie, but you get to learn more about the characters, like each of the characters' backstory. And I like that because you get to learn more about Inigo Montoya other than...
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
So I highly recommend this book. The next book I read was Gwendy's Magic Feather by Richard Chizmar. This is the sequel to Gwendy's Button Box. And I liked this book, but it doesn't really seem like a sequel to the Button Box. I thought there'd be more about the box and like learn more about it, but not really. Like the box is there, but it's like a more focus on her and like her town where there's missing children, and you were like, okay, is the box involved? Is the guy involved and all that? So I did like it, but if you are looking for more of like the sequel to the Button Box and really enjoyed that, you might not enjoy this. But if you also like mystery and understand that it's not going to be about that, then you might enjoy it. Because I did enjoy it. It's not my favorite, but for what it is, I liked it. The next book I read was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This is a fantasy romance novel about Addie, who makes a deal with this dark being, and that she wants to live forever, and once she's done with the life, she will give her soul to him. He accepts, but she doesn't know that she will be cursed, and from now on, people will forget her. So after 300 years, she runs into somebody that remembers her. I gave this a 3-star rating. I really wanted to like this, and I really liked the parts that were fantasy about making a deal and people forgetting her and what she has to go through to deal with that. I did not like the romance. I personally do not like romance, so that is why I didn't like it. But if you like romance or are okay with romance, I think you would like this book and love it for everything. There are many things I didn't think about when they were talking about like people forgetting her. Like I knew that, you know, her family didn't remember her, or the people that she loved, and that seems very sad when she found that out, but like things I didn't take account into is like she can't get a job, but there's this one scene that she like tries to get a hotel room, and she does, and she pays, and she's trying to convince the person to like write her name down, but she's like, I can remember things, and then she gets kicked out because the woman doesn't remember her and thinks that she's just like a vagrant. And it's as easy as like them turning away from her for people to forget about her. So the romance part I didn't like because just how it starts off, because he remembers her, and this is the first time in 300 years that someone remembers her, so it's like, does she love him for who he is, or just that she can be with somebody who remembers her? And she hasn't heard someone say her name in over 300 years. Plus, her and the relationship she has with the dark being is sketchy. Like, she gives herself up to him to save somebody, and I just don't know how I feel about that. But part of it was really good. So I'm sure many people will like this book. The next book I read was Stephen King, The Mist. This is a horror novella by Stephen King. And the morning after a big storm, David and his son go into the supermarket when mist completely engulfs the supermarket. And there are these creatures in the mist. I liked this book, but it was way too short. I needed more. Of course, the ending I didn't like. And sadly, I liked the movie more. It's rare, but it does happen sometimes. I wanted to know more about the Mist. There were these soldiers that mentioned that it could be the military with Project Arrowhead, but then nothing comes of it. And I think I would have liked to know more and know about the Mist if it's involved with the military, but sadly it doesn't tell you. The last one I read was A House at the Bottom of the Lake by Josh Malerman. I'm technically done. I have like 30 pages left, but I think I can give a review. So this is about two 17-year-olds who go on a first date, and they stumble upon a house at the bottom of the lake. It's like, I don't know how to describe it without giving it away or giving into it, but there's something not right about it. They're drawn to it, but also fear it in a way, and I liked it. There's one scene, there's a sex scene, and I just didn't like it. I just don't want to hear about minors having sex. Like, they can mention it, but the amount of detail was in here I did not like, because they're minors. Like, they can be like, you can mention sex, because yeah, reality is teens are having sex. But I don't want to read about it in such detail. And I can see how some people say it's insta-love. It is and it isn't, because in the beginning, you can see how cute it is. Like, they're both nervous about the date. And it's like, oh, I love them, oh, you know. And then it becomes something more deeper down the road. So, like, it's insta-love, but we understand that it's, like, young love blossoming. So, those are all the books I read in the month of April. Like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Bye!